Everybody knows that the North American League of Legends Championship Series, or so-called LCS, was the birthplace of the competitive League of Legends scene. Not only that, but it also played a huge part in the uprising of esports in general, and a lot of famous esports organizations. Despite its legendary status, the LCS has only been going downhill in recent years, so let us look into what exactly went wrong. But before getting onto the main point, let's have a quick glance at the origin of the LCS and its ups and downs over the years. The very first competitive tournaments were hosted by third-party organizers in the first 2 years of its release, followed by a single main event hosted by Riot themselves. However, the very first League of Legends World Championship didn't happen for 2 years after its release. When it was finally held at DreamHack in Sweden in June 2011, it brought a lot of attention to the League of Legends esports scene. This third-party qualifier league and official main event format went on for another year until Riot decided to take control of the qualifier leagues as well by introducing an official league called the LCS in August 2012. The LCS not only gave Riot control over their esports scene, but also guaranteed salaries for players across North America and Europe. The LCS also became a regular thing that was hosted twice a year in 2 splits and guaranteed players a consistent form of income, motivating them to be more competitive. This also allowed teams like Team Solo Mid, Cloud9, and Counterlogic Gaming to grow even bigger into more successful organizations. You could even say League of Legends and the NALCS gave birth to these world-famous esports teams. Later, more regional leagues were introduced to the other regions as well, and the League of Legends esports scene became unified under Riot alone. And fast forward several years, being the birthplace of League of Legends and the official League of Legends competitive scene, the NALCS was thriving as the most entertaining and competitive league out there. It has produced some of the most famous players in the scene like Doublelift, Bjergsen, Sneaky, etc., and NA was a region that often performed well in World Championships and other international events. The NALCS officially got rebranded as the LCS as well, with EU LCS was rebranded as LEC. Everything was looking good, but from that point on, things didn't exactly go as planned. The quality of the league and the competitiveness of it began to degrade to a point where it has really started to collapse. Viewership of the LCS has been going downhill in recent years, and stats show that it has seen a 36.2% decline in viewership over the last year. To put that into a better perspective, the LEC has been consistently garnering over 1 million views over the last 3 years, while even the grand final of the 2021 summer split only barely gathered 365,000 viewers in the LCS. So what exactly went wrong here? The biggest influencer for the lack of inspiration to watch the LCS is due to a lack of narrative. Both esports and regular sports have similar drivers for why they are enjoyed by so many. They are venues for emotional expression. In a way, people love these games because it allows people to escape their normal, real-world troubles and gives them a sense of belonging to a community or a greater passion. This passion is, of course, driven by the professionals in the game. Their stories, their come-up, the narratives they drive to get to the place they are, these are all incredibly important components that create that sense of relatability and belonging in the viewer. Whether it's the storylines you hear from Formula 1, the excitement over a young up-and-comer in the NBA, or the rise of the Michael Jordan of esports, it's so exciting as a fan to hear and relate to these stories. One of the biggest reasons for this massive decline is the shift away from some of the most iconic League of Legends rosters in times past. Gone are the days of the meme squad that was the original Dignitas, the Brotherhood of the 2012 Cloud9 roster, and the legendary 2016 TSM roster that ringed so iconic to so many. Nowadays, the LCS just feels so manufactured and boring. We've seen attempts at generating these narratives from players and hearing more about them, but for the most part, we really don't know or care who they are and what they do. If you want to see a return to the LCS fandom we used to love, I think the LCS has to change their strategy and really focus on the players. Really focus on making them stars and building their legacy so people can fall in love with them and then fall in love with the league. This ties into another big reason why NA fans are not as interested in the LCS anymore, and that is the lack of homegrown talent. Less new NA players are being drafted into the main league as orgs often tend to import top-tier foreign players in hopes of carrying their teams. Even though some of them have managed to do so, more viewers have lost interest in the league nonetheless because of this lack of talent. And surveys also show that the current LCS scene lacks likable or interesting players for fans to follow or be entertained with. Apart from not having original talents or top names in the region anymore, there are also some other considerable factors that affected the decline of the league. If you are a fan of the leagues of other regions like the LEC or LCK, you might have noticed that apart from the gameplay, they also produce a lot of content to promote the leagues and keep them entertaining. However, the LCS has been lacking content in recent years. Surveys also show that fans have lost interest in the LCS as there are not really any interesting storylines to follow. For example, in the LCK, Faker's comeback is a great storyline that keeps the viewers hooked on its league, while the LEC also has some interesting stories to tell with the come-up of several teams and G2 esports. However, there's currently none in the LCS, apart from the return of the legendary Bjergsen. Even the Legend's return after his retirement hasn't had a major impact on the viewership of the league in a positive way per se. There are decent pieces of content out there that some fans will enjoy, such as the dive or this or that, but there has been a severe lack of player-focused narrative content that I've come to love and appreciate in our players. Some of my all-time favorite pieces of content are things like LCS Drive, which gave me a newfound appreciation for players like Golden Glue that I never even knew I had in me, or a more recent example being the Tomorrow We Fight promo piece that they did to promote the summer split of 2022. These are both prime examples of why people care so much about the LCS and its players, but we've been seeing less and less of that. Riot's most likely explanation is due to the margins on making videos like this, but I believe that this kind of investment is something that just goes beyond the numbers and is more about building a brand. One thing that will always harm our regional league for as long as it exists pretty much is the fact that we just kind of suck. The simplest solution by far to our issue with this is to basically just win. I can assure you that all the other problems with viewerships and narratives will all be solved automatically if we just win worlds. These things will just build themselves, and this in a way can be the LCS's ticket back into relevancy. The problem with this, of course, is that although it's the simplest solution conceptually, it's also the hardest solution to actually follow up on. Just win worlds 5-head? We haven't been able to make a dent for the last 10 years, so it's really a hard argument to think that we'll be able to do anything at this point. I digress. This is something that we do need to consider regardless. Considering all of the facts, it is safe to assume that the LCS's current trajectory is to its demise. The viewership only keeps declining, and the teams the LCS produces always fall behind on the international stage. It has been a fairly long time since an NA team made the latter playoffs of a world championship, and it's not a good look as well when influencers like Double It have to retract their statements and then get banned from co-streaming after commenting on this. This would only make the LCS lose even more viewers, and it seems like recently Riot has been taking all the wrong decisions in handling the LCS. Although there is some chance that the LCS can be saved, there's a lot of work that needs to be done across the league in order to get there.